Thank you all for coming. My name is Kristen Seeley. I am a volunteer and the leader of the Digital Citizenship Coalition. I appreciate you taking the time to come learn about what we're trying to accomplish in our community. Raising Good Digital Citizens came about, and I'm thrilled to see Principal Allen here because I attended a wonderful panel presentation she put on at the Glenbrook Middle School, and there was some eye-opening data that they presented about smartphone use in our community, and I said, well, I think we could be doing more. We need to support our teachers and the challenges they're facing in the schools, and how do we do that? So here we are, we're trying to help our kids be safe and smart and sensitive online. So the coalition is basically parent-led. We have a lot of parent volunteers, and we're working together to share our best practices, and our teachers and our administrators have been super supportive. The coalition is a district-wide community group. Please sit. And our adjustment counselors are some of our biggest experts. Kara Dudek at the Glenbrook Middle School is our smart app expert. She looks at our climate survey data along with some other folks like Paul McNeil here at the Longmeadow Public Schools office, and they digest the student behaviors and get back to us about what's actually going on in our community. We also are fortunate enough to have Pam Chaplin, our school resource officer. She's part of the Longmeadow Police Department. Her colleague, Detective Rex, is also part of our, hi Donna, come on in, part of our team. There are peer leaders, our students from the high school who actually enlist for credit in a peer leadership program, but also our middle schools have peer leaders. They help the younger kids in a variety of topics, but in this case, technology and how to use it and have a good relationship with the technology. And then community experts, what I will introduce in a moment, from our district attorney's office. We have our U.S. attorney's office and various other folks who are interested and helpful. The mission, as I said earlier, is to basically help our students and our community interact with technology, not only safely, but also, kindly. And I think in the flyer, it's, think before you speak. Well, let's think before we post. Let's think about and have a thoughtful discussion about what we are projecting online. So we're helping foster relationships with technology, modeling acceptable behavior, setting expectations, as parents, defining clear limits, and finding balance, helping ourselves and our kids figure out what makes sense for you, what makes sense for your family. So what is digital citizenship? Well, this is a few basics: practicing data hygiene, things like what is your online password? Is it strong enough? Not trusting people you don't know. When I say avoiding digital traps, we're talking about not sharing too much information, not getting caught up in the fear of missing out, knowing your netiquette, back to that, think before you post. Is it thoughtful? Is it helpful? Is it interesting? Is it kind? Did I miss the N? Probably. Oh, no, always miss the N. Necessary, thank you. And then, tapping available resources. We have all of these wonderful experts in our community who have really good information. Let's get it and share it. So the purpose of the coalition is to basically help get what's out there. And so by coming today, you're even starting to help make a positive impact. So please consider joining our coalition. I have a sign-up sheet back there. If you haven't already put your name on it and you are interested in receiving information from us, please do so. We're sharing successful, strategies. Out of the panel presentations, it was alarming to me that 61% of our middle school students are sleeping with their smart devices in their rooms. Successful strategy number one: prioritize sleep. Make the phones into a drawer, a hotel in your house, not just for your kids, but for everybody. And, model that behavior. By doing that, we're helping develop community norms, we're helping to set social expectations, and most important in this group, we're extending the impact of our school curriculum. Our schools are already doing great work in this area, but sometimes it doesn't, get echoed at home. So the school committee even is very interested and active in maybe even influencing policy. If enough of our community members are, interested in moving towards a shared goal or in a certain direction, they will implement change. So without belaboring this topic for much longer, I'm going to turn it over to the experts. I'd like to welcome, well, first of all, I'd like to thank Anthony Gallooni and his team for doing the great work that they do in the Community Safety and Outreach Group. And we have Tony Simmons, the director of that Community Service and Outreach, and Gina Anselmo, his team member specialist. And they're going to talk about social media and what parents should know about it. So thank you for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
So my name is Tony Simmons. I am the director of District Attorney Anthony Gallooni's Community Safety and Outreach Unit. And what that is, we are not the team that goes into the courthouse. We're not lawyers. We do all prevention. The DA put a lot of his efforts into reaching out to the community. Of course, we go to all 23 towns and cities in Hampden County, and we cover a number of topics. This last couple years, I was able to increase our unit by a couple folks, and one of the folks we hired was Gina Anselmo. She's been with us for about a year and a half now, and we have someone else that works with us that works on other topics. But with a lot of our youth programs that we go in the community with, Gina's the one that works closely with me in our efforts in our office. So community safety and outreach, a lot of the things that the DA, the effort is, we're all about prevention. There's a difference between intervention, as you know, and prevention. We're all about getting ahead of it. We're the ones that say we want to give you a heads up. And we want to let you know what's going on because we kind of know that. You know why we know that? Because we see these things in the courthouse every single day, regardless of the topic we're talking about. Social media is one of them, obviously. We do presentations around distracted driving because of the cases that our office is involved with regards to vehicular homicide, so on and so forth. Domestic violence, we talk a lot about that, and we give prevention programs around that and use the experts in our office to address those issues, and we're available to the schools throughout Hampden County. The whole issue around the opioid epidemic, we have a video that we created just once. It's real life stories of two families, one actually in Long Meadow, that tells their stories about addiction. And our approach is give real stories as happens in your town. These are the stories that maybe you may know about, and these are the things that you may want to watch for. And we give those presentations to all the way as young as 6th grade, all the way up to high school. The whole premise is the earlier you start using, the more you're at risk of being addicted to some sort of substance. So as it comes to social media, we also have a presentation on vaping as well. As it comes to social media, what we use is our experts. We have a huge resource to us, and that's our Youth Advisory Board. Our Youth Advisory Board is made up of students from 23 towns and cities throughout Hampden County, all high school students, from sophomore all the way up to senior. And the whole idea is to talk to them and get their ideas. What are your concerns? What are the things that you see? What are the issues? We know that they're the experts. We don't necessarily dig down and say, okay, we're working with the at-risk kids or in any area in that sense, and we have other programs for that. This is where we embrace the kids that are citizens, the kids that you know are going to grow up and really be something, the kids that have a voice, the kids that want to give back to their community. Those are the kids that are drawn to our Youth Advisory Board. Those are the kids that really can articulate what they see in their school and translate that into something that we can put into a prevention program. And those are our experts. We ask them in every single step of the way, and they are always right. With vaping, we did a video last year. They worked on it 2 years ago. They were talking about vaping in schools 2 years ago, and we have a video that we show. These kids were on the money with their concerns and issues. With social media, another thing. So when it comes to social media, we tackle that in a couple different ways, and we talk about cyberbullying and all that stuff. It's not even about cyberbullying, it's about cyber survival, to be quite honest with you. So our whole model, our whole way that we operate is to really talk to the kids and ask them. So last year, we went to 8 middle schools. We talked to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders throughout Hampden County, and we talked to them about social media. What does that look like? And it's kind of scary, and I don't know if you parents know what really the life of I mean, you probably know, but maybe you don't. The beauty of when we go into schools and talk to kids, it's not like they're talking to their parents. They're talking to us. They're giving us information. They feel empowered. They're like, this big organization, the district attorney's office, wants to hear what I have to say. And I'm going to tell them. And they're so honest, and it's eye-opening. We'll get into a little bit about what we've discovered with them, but that's a project that we're going to be coming out with probably somewhere in the next couple months that's going to really talk about what does it look like to be a 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. It is really, really scary. If you teachers know, you're well aware of what's going on, but just a quick example, and then we'll move on. So we went to Palmer, one group of kids that we saw out there, and it's the same across the board. The interesting thing about it, Springfield, Palmer, Longmeadow, West Springfield, everyone, it all is the same. Social media is all the same. They're all being assaulted, really. So we went to, and we were talking to kids, and they're honest. And so it was a group of, how many, about 6 kids, 12 kids?
Yeah,
Some
right around
schools, 12 kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And one kid had said, Instagram, one day Instagram wasn't working in our school for some reason. And another girl piped in and said, oh my God, I remember that day. No one was able to get Instagram. And they said, the kid said, if it was just me, I would have panicked because I would have wondered what people were saying about me, because we are constantly on our phones trying to find out who's saying what, who's putting a meme or whatever. We're constantly, but it was the entire school. And they said, and the fact that the entire school didn't have Instagram, it put them at ease. One girl said that she was able to go outside for the first time because she's mostly on Instagram. She was able to breathe the fresh air.
And take a nap.
And take a nap. Really, I mean, that's how involved they are. That's how involved they are. Another thing that we learn, and you must know this, if you don't know it, which is obvious, they know way, way more about this phone than you will ever, ever, ever know. They know all the intricacies. You may think you know, but we all work, we have a living, they are on their phone. And they also are the answer to their questions. They also know. So we seek them and ask them, well, what would you do? They also know when someone's making a fake profile and all that stuff. The kids, along with that, they can identify that. So when we look at that, there is a way. We tap into those kids that know that and ask them, how can we help out others? And that's what we hope this video is going to be about, that addresses social media, and I believe we are probably going to call it cyber survival. And as a result, we'll play a clip of it at the end if we can. It hasn't been fully produced yet, but we'll try to play just a segment of it just so you can see where we're headed with this project. So without further ado, again, the presentation when we do with social media, internet safety, a lot of times it is we have a panel of our Youth Advisory Board members. Part of what they do as Youth Advisory Board is just not a resume builder for them. They actually give back. The first thing the high school students have to do, sometimes it helps them with public speaking. They have to give back to the most vulnerable population in their community, the 2nd and 3rd graders that are getting phones. So the first thing that we do is, okay, you're going to go back to your school, your elementary school, let us know where, we'll set it up for you, and then we're going to do a social media presentation, and what you're going to do, you're going to say, I used to go to this school. Now I'm going to talk to you about social media. I'm going to talk to you about how to tell a trusted adult. It's a soft presentation, and it's very free. NetSmart's presentation. Anyone can get it. It's really cool, clicky and all that. And it's about interacting. And it's about our high school kids giving back to the community, and the kids looking up to them and saying, oh my God, I'm going to go to Longmeadow High School. I can't wait. This is what I want to do. And that's part of what they give back as well. But when it comes to our other presentations, when we come out and do parent presentations, which is similar to this, we usually have a parent. That's another part they have to give back. A parent presentation in towns, and we usually get about 10 to 15 board members. And where the value is, we'll do the PowerPoint, yes, but where the value is when they sit down and answer all the questions that your teenager would never give you. And they give you honest answers. They give you answers like, don't think that if you take your phone away from your kid, they're not going to find some excuse to find someone else's phone, because my friend does it all the time. they'll tell us that. They'll say, yeah, my friend, her mother takes the phone away, and she'll come over and say, my mom just took the phone away. Can I use your phone to check my whatever? And they let them do that. Those are things that you got to be aware of because they do that. And they also say, very, very common, the more strict you are with the kid, the more sneaky your kid is. And they know, and they tell, my friend, and it's all.
They always say strict parents make sneaky kids.
Yeah, strict parents make sneaky kids, and they are, I mean, that, I think the Youth Advisory Board is probably the best. I mean, I just love it because these kids, and they're brilliant, and they're smart, and they can articulate it. And it's a great, great program to be in. If you know any high school students, we have 4 in Springfield, in Long Meadow. I think we have 4. 3 or 4.
Yeah, we have Thomas and Bridget
and
Rachel Schwartz. I think those are the 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really a good thing. So anyways, we come and they give us presentations. They answer the questions that parents may have. We'll try to do that to you today, but we're going to start this PowerPoint. Gina usually does the PowerPoint presentations. It's more around apps and some apps that you need to be aware of. You guys know about TikTok, right? You gotta get on TikTok right now, and I think we have handouts as well. You want to get out the package of handouts. So get up on TikTok. TikTok is the newest thing. Everyone loves it. It's that fast rush. Think of the kids that we're creating and manage whether your kids should be on the phone as much as they are. TikTok is fast. If a kid is hyperactive, it is feeding into a hyperactivity. It's feeding on the fact that kids can't focus on something for no longer than a few seconds. And that's what they watch. And they watch the video because anything past like 10 seconds or something like that loses their interest. So this whole TikTok thing, it can be fun. You can make fun of people, but you can also do some cool videos and stuff. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it, but don't really know what it is.
One thing that the Youth Advisory Board always says too, we ask them about the whole, strict parents make sneaky kids is, how do you find the balance? And they always say communication.
Yeah.
As long as their parent is telling them, okay, I don't want you to have this app, but why? What are the risks? Why are you concerned about it? And then they can kind of understand. So that's something that they always talk about. Communication is key in regards to just having that balance. This PowerPoint, the first couple slides, pretty much general knowledge for the most part. Ways to access the internet. As long as they have the connection to the Wi-Fi, they can get on the internet. So things even like an iPod, and I'm sure you guys know this, they can access Wi-Fi, they can access the internet. We talk about applications, like Tony was saying, a lot about applications. Apps that put kids at the risk for sexual predators, the risk of mature and inappropriate content, and the risk of cyberbullying. So as long as they have that Wi-Fi connection, whatever device they're using, whether it be the PlayStation, or their iPod, or even a Kindle, or their phone, they can download any apps that are available in the App Store. We focus on the apps because this is, where the majority of what they're seeing, the inappropriate content, the mature content, is on these apps. We talk a lot about Generation Z because this is the youngest generation today, born between 1995 and 2015, so it gives them that age range of about 4 to 22 years old. 95% of Generation Z, between the age group of 13 and 22, currently have a smartphone. And we know that the age for getting a smartphone is getting younger and younger and younger. So we always like to say this is the first generation that is born into a digital everything world. They don't remember a time before the cell phone.
They don't know a time.
They don't know a time before the cell phone. So, a lot of parents get frustrated when they're constantly on their phones, but we have to remember that they don't know the time before the cell phone, which is why we really like to, encourage parents and help them at least identify apps that put them at risk, so they can talk to their children about them, and if they are using some of these apps, how to use them safely. This is, again, most of you all know, I'm sure. College admissions officers use social networking pages to research applicants. Some kids are ready to start applying to colleges. We know the horror story, you post something inappropriate online, whether it's the Red Solo Cup or out partying, it can really hurt their chances of getting into a college. And the same thing goes for job opportunities. 70% of employers are using social media to screen candidates during the hiring process. And the same thing goes for this, too. The Red Solo Cup, the open containers, things like that. Seeing, vulgar language can really hurt the chances of getting a job. So we like to encourage kids to go through a checklist. I know you were kind of talking about it before. Is it necessary? Is it hurtful? Is it illegal? Can it get me in trouble? Is it nice? Is really important before posting. So luckily, kids, if they're mindful of what they're posting, they can, stay out of trouble. They can be mindful about what they're posting. It's not inappropriate. They're all set. But we can't control who's on the internet for the wrong reasons. And that is, of course, sexual predators. We talk about Kik. Kik is an app. Kik is popular. It's an app more for kids that don't have a cell phone. Because when you connect to Wi-Fi, you can text message. So we work with an assistant district attorney who was just talking about Kik and how it's kind of on the uprise. So the kids that, they're not allowed to have a cell phone yet, they have the iPod, they can connect to Wi-Fi and they can text message. So because it's not connected to that cell phone number, you see a lot of, it's just the I can't pronounce
Anonymous.
the word. It's anonymous because it's not connected to the cell phone. It's anonymous,
Anonymity.
so youth don't know who they're talking to, and that's one of the major concerns. Free and easy to use. So in other words, they don't need the cell phone and they can text message. Another big reason about why we like to mention Kik is because in 2016, the New York Times reported that the app had become an increasing concern for law enforcement officials, with a number of instances where the app was used to exploit children and exchange child pornography. Since that report in 2016, Forbes found that abuse on the app was still ongoing, with an evidence of a vast number of child exploitation cases. So this anonymous aspect really makes it common for users to not know who they're talking about. Age requirement is 17 plus, but when you sign up for the app, it just asks for your date of birth. So even if you put in a date of birth and you're not 17, it'll say sorry, but you can just go back, change the year, and now you're old enough. So another big concern. We talk about Tinder, raises the same concern in regards to the sexual predators. It's a smartphone dating app, accesses the phone's GPS information, and it collects other users from as close to a mile away. So say I'm on the app, a profile will come up, someone that's a mile away from me, and I could either swipe right if I'm interested, swipe left if I'm not interested. If they swipe right, they can now message each other, send photos, arrange a meeting.
If your kid has Tinder, you might want to have a conversation. If you just happen to see it on their phone, just have a conversation with them about why they have that app.
And that's because they call it a dating app, but its reputation is mostly for sexual encounters, hookups, and that's a concern because, as you can see, 13.5 million 13 to 7-year-olds are active on Tinder. Same thing with the whole age range, or the whole, age restrictions. You can kind of just go back and change it. A big thing about this is, when you put in how old you are, you get people of the same age around you. So if I'm, 60, 70, 80 years old, I can put, okay, I'm 16, and then I get access to all the 16-year-olds as close to a mile away. When predators are online, they use this technique called grooming, befriending and establishing an emotional connection with a child, with an objective to meet in person. We just talk about this because if kids are posting too much online, a predator can use that information to kind of relate to them, establish a relationship, become their friend and gain trust. So we always just like to talk about that really quickly. So that's why it's kind of important just to be careful about what you're posting online, and also be careful of location settings.
One thing you also want to be careful of, is your kids' sports uniforms with their names on them. Tells you your kid plays soccer in this town. All someone has to do is just look that up. Just be mindful of that. When you post stuff on Facebook and stuff like that, I don't know if the uniforms, whatever sport they may play, if someone sees them on social media, they'll know how to locate them. Just look at wherever they're playing the sport. So just be mindful of that as well.
So with the apps, we always just like to remind people, remember the age restrictions and that the apps don't strongly enforce them. So you shouldn't be thinking, oh, my son or daughter is 13 and you have to be 17 to download the app, so I'm all set for a couple years. Unfortunately, it's not the case. Apps like Tinder and Kik, they have that main purpose of meeting new people and even encourage meeting new people offline. Fortnite's a little different because the purpose is just to have fun and play a game. Very popular, 100 people fight to be the last person standing. It's free. You can really play it on any device. But, since there's so many players, or so many young people on this app, predators tend to lurk on here. There is a text and voice chat, and there is a way to shut that off. You actually have, I believe, a sheet in that packet that kind of talks about some ways. When kids start playing Fortnite, the common thing is that they get very obsessed with it. So if we're trying to limit Fortnite use, we always like to tell parents to limit in number of battles as opposed to time, because it goes by battles. So if you say, you could play 3 more battles, once he's done with the 3rd battle, you're not, interrupting anything. If we say you have 20 minutes, he could be in the middle of a battle, or she, and get really frustrated, start that fight. So just a way to avoid all that is limiting in number of battles as opposed to time.
Hence, that's why if you have a kid that plays Fortnite and you say you gotta stop and they may yell at you or scream at you, that's probably why, because they're in the middle of something. I'm so close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just avoid the fight altogether. The apps with text and voice chat, this is where a lot of the times we see cyberbullying. When we go out and talk to kids about cyberbullying, it's hard, it's hard to tell them, don't bully, be nice, it's hard to tell why people bully. We always like to encourage them to kind of create a community of people that don't tolerate that behavior, turning bystanders into people that, stand up for people that are being targeted. Once you have a couple of those friends and it keeps growing and growing and growing, all of a sudden those people that don't tolerate bullying are now, bigger. Or the strength, we have the strength in numbers where the people that are bullying is way less than the people that, don't tolerate it and stick up for each other. And that's kind of how we try and build resiliency within the students. And this is something that we talked a lot about in our research project too, and the kids that, they have that group of friends and they stick together. So if they see something online, maybe they see inappropriate photos, things of that nature, they know, okay, well, me and my friends, we all report it, we can get it taken down. Just having that, group of people that doesn't tolerate that behavior is very helpful, being young and exposed to all of this. I'm going to talk a little bit about Instagram and Snapchat, just because these are 2 of the most commonly used apps today.
Yeah, by the way, don't say, you probably already know this, Facebook, if you say Facebook to your kids, they're gonna say you're old. They are not on Facebook, so.
Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok.
That's all the people.
Yeah.
That's what they'll say.
They're both free. I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar with it. Instagram lets you take photos, edit, share those photos either to the public or with a group of approved followers. Snapchat, similar in a way where you can take photos, edit them, and share them. They both have a location sharing feature, and that's why we like to talk about them. Instagram's location feature is called geotagging. So, if you're posting a photo, you can, if I'm at my friend's house or say we're at, a restaurant, you can put that location there on your post. The good thing about Instagram's location sharing feature is that you have to manually do it. So if I want to post my location, I have to go in there and manually find myself on the map. Snapchat's location sharing feature is a lot more concerning. So they call it SnapMap. And the reason SnapMap is so concerning is because it's real time. You don't have to be actively posting. You don't have to, be opening a message or sending a message. If I have the Snapchat app, I just click on it and it'll refresh that, it'll refresh the location, and it is available for all your friends to see. And it is in real time, so even if you're driving a car, it'll put you in a car and, everyone knows that you're on I-91 or wherever you may be. So we always like to talk to kids, if you're not being careful about who you're adding, it makes you question, who's actually tracking your location, and so precisely too.
I mean, you can use it as a positive too, as
Yeah.
some sort of deal you have with your kid. We have a coworker that makes a deal, you have to keep your location on, so I know where you're at. This one, you can keep it, you can narrow it down, so you can keep it within your own group, a private group.
Right, so for kids, we want them to turn on ghost mode, which means no one can see the location. Now, if you're, maybe you have Snapchat and you keep in touch with your children on the Snapchat app, you can set restrictions. So I want to be on ghost mode, but I only want mom and dad and sister to see the location. So that is an upside, as no one else can see it except for, the close, trusted family members. So that is one of the 2 most concerning features about Snapchat. The second most concerning feature is that common belief that the youngest generation believes that all those photos and those videos and those chats are deleted right after they're sent, or however long you put that timer on. We all know that content on a device is never deleted. But Snapchat, can give kids that false impression just because, they're watching it disappear in front of their face. But Snapchat actually does bury those photos and those videos and those chats, deep in the phone, and they have been retrieved before. Actually, by one of our ADAs in the office talks about a case where she was able to get those pictures back. And that we really like to share. Like Tony was saying, it's all about just giving them information. So if they know this, maybe they'll think twice before sending those inappropriate photos, knowing that they're not just disappearing.
When we're talking to assemblies of kids and we mention about Snapchat and not being able to delete anything on their phone, just as a speaker looking at all the kids,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
they're all, are you really? And they're talking to each other. It's
We
like,
talk about
you probably
Yeah.
have something to be concerned about, I'm sure.
We talk about yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We talk about the phone dumps too. We work with the state police where they have the device and it, gives you all the information that was ever deleted. What if I throw my phone against the
Yeah.
wall or put it
What if I
underwater?
set it on fire?
What if I move out of the country? Regarding this feature, Snapchat originally lied about it and they were ultimately fined by the Federal Trade Commission. So because, a lot of the times they're thinking that these photos are disappearing, they'll typically use this app to send inappropriate photos. So not only does it not disappear, we know that, but also we can screenshot the photos, and I'm sure you guys know what the screenshot is, just a photo of the screen. So it'll tell me that, James screenshotted my photo, but I can't do anything about it. So always have to be careful in that sense too. This is where...
They don't even text. They just communicate through Snapchat.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even have to be a photo.
Yeah,
Like
so
if one
Snapchat...
time so-and-so's coming over, my daughter will say, oh, I snapped them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got the
amazing.
text, the text feature too. So it's
The
like
green text.
they don't even need the messaging app, And that's also another thing, kids that don't have the cell phones. A lot of these apps do have the text chat. So thinking that they're not, in constant communication with friends or whoever, if not a lot of these, if not most of them, have the text chat and give them that ability to stay connected constantly. This is where we typically play a movie or a public service announcement called Your Photo, Your Fate. Our Youth Advisory Board last year was talking about concerns in their school, what they wanted to focus on for a project. And one of the things that they decided was they want to talk about their peers sending inappropriate photos. A lot of the times, it gets sent out, someone makes that bad decision, and it goes all around school, and that's typical. And then law enforcement gets involved, and typically that's how it happens, unfortunately. And so the Youth Advisory Board decided to make a video in regards to bringing awareness to this. So we'll play that video quick.
Yeah, one of the things that we do, we're still trying to figure out how to actually talk to high school students about what they put online, to be quite honest with you. We can't use our board members to talk about it. So we take this angle, we show them a scenario that they're always familiar with, even in middle schools, and then we talk about the legality around it. And that's where the conversation about whatever you put on the phone, it doesn't really get deleted, so be careful. And we have a prosecutor that has those types of cases to say, I was just in court, and we're able to download, called a phone dump, and get everything that you've ever looked up, everything that you've deleted, Google searched, we get that. And that's pretty eye-opening. It's like, whether you want to believe it or not. So that leaves the conversation to, okay, so when the boy or girl talks to their boyfriend or girlfriend and says, come on, take a picture like this, then the girl or boy has the knowledge to say, well, we just heard that it never gets deleted, regardless of what you said, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take that picture, and then make the right decision. But this is something that our Youth Advisory Board thought was important, and we created this video and the conversation around this video. So we play that video, and that scenario we know plays out in schools. We get the calls, can you come talk to our middle school students about this? There's a picture going around, and we have a conversation around that. And we talk about first of all, obviously you talk about the embarrassment, what happens if your mother sees it, or the creepy guy sees it, or your employees, or your principal, and then what happens if it comes into court, what happens if a mother complains and goes to the school and says there's a picture of my kid, you got to do something about it, and then the resource officer gets involved because they have to, and then your phone gets taken and it comes into our office, and our prosecutor who comes on our trips with us, Ingrid Frau. She'll say, and then I have to get that information. I work with the state police, and we do a phone dump, and I usually have to look at 1,400 pages of stuff that you kids put, all your text message, everything. And guess who's there looking at it with us? Your parent and your lawyer. So that's how it happens. That's how that scenario plays out, period. We're the district attorney's office. We see it. No joke. It happens in Hampden County. And it happened in your school last year, or your school, or your school. And that's the approach that we take. It's not, you got to do this. It's a matter of fact, you're old enough. If you end up out there, then you can't really say that we didn't tell you. And it goes over pretty well. We get some, conversations back and forth, but at the end of the day, when you got all the people that have seen this happen and play out, typically we'll bring our diversion worker here with us to talk about cases that she's had where we don't send people to jail, but we'll divert them. So we'll bring them into our court system. We'll have them do some community service and stuff like that, but she talks about a case where she diverted and she was working with the kid and the parent was looking at all these disturbing pictures that she put out to her boyfriend. And it was because she broke up with the boyfriend, was dating someone else, and the guy she broke up with, who had the picture, sent it to the guy that she was dating. It happened in Holyoke, and it all came into the court system, and that's what that looks like. So we say, you guys are smart kids, and this is prevention. This is the uncle telling you, giving you a heads up, someone giving you advice, and that's the beauty of it. And they think, just like you're thinking, and they're saying, well, am I involved? Or, we see that, it's incredible. We'll look back at them, and they're talking to each other, and how about that picture? They're pointing at each other. Like, I bet you, and probably have inappropriate things. And it gives them pause to think. They're grown. So, you want to add?
Yes, the assistant district attorney that comes with us, she'll usually talk to the students and she'll kind of break down the video as what in the situation, who's getting in trouble. So you had the original boyfriend saying, send me the picture, which a lot of times the kids learn that is also illegal because he's enticing them. And she'll kind of just go down the list. And that particular one, the boyfriend just, trying to get her to send the photo, that really shocks them because there's no picture yet. It's not, it hasn't been sent, it hasn't been taken, but that in itself is just enticement, and you can also get in trouble for that. And then, of course, taking the photo and sending it and sharing it, distribution and all that. So they really do learn a lot when they watch the video, because after we kind of regroup and break down, this particular scenario, especially because this is how it typically happens. So it really is kind of a learning experience for them, and not just, trying to scare them, don't do this. It's like we're doing it because we don't want them to come to the office. But like you were saying, we have the people with us that they would see if that did happen. So if it ever were to happen, that's, they'll be reminded of when we were there and talk to them about it.